Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. This is probably one of the biggest bangers I've heard for $80. This thing does basically everything right. This has one of the best soundstage and imaging. Everything sounds very precise and accurate, making this really good for gaming. But when you're also listening to music, it makes everything sound exceedingly natural. And even the tuning on this is really vocal forward. So if you really like to listen to a lot of vocal based music, this thing does really well. So we'll talk about why that is. And the other thing that's cool about this is it also has 5 drivers for $80, which is just unheard of. So it has a dynamic driver to play the bass, and then 4 BA drivers to play the mids and the treble, and that gives it a lot of detail too for its price. So this is definitely a review you don't want to miss, and we're going to jump into this one quickly. And I have to say, as always, I feel like Fiio just kind of kills it, man. Every single time I get their products, they just seem to be refined and very different from their competitors. They seem to put a lot of effort into their products, and it sounds like, I don't know, it kind of feels like it's like the Apple of audio. They seem to have a lot of good stuff they put into it, and they just have a lot of attention to detail, and I really appreciate that about these products. Anyways, let's dive into the details. All right, so we have the Fiio JH5. Let's unbox this and see what we get inside. This is such a shiny packaging. Stands out. I really like the Fiio packaging. Look at that RGB light. Ooh, looks cool. So you can just flip it open, and you can see the front. And then we got the panel. So the case it comes with is actually a hard case, which is the first time I've ever seen that. And if you actually look at this hard case, it has these little dots right here, and then a bigger circles on top, making this a stackable type of box, which is really cool. And then of course you have a little handle right here to pull it out. And yeah, so it stores all your tips in a hard case. All right, so we have the Fiio JH5 here. This has a zinc alloy faceplate. It's pretty plain, but it's a nice actually metal type of faceplate, which is cool. Now we also have this kind of 3D printed shell. I find it very comfortable. I have no issues with it, as well as the nozzle being small as well. So I really didn't have an issue with comfort. This was very comfortable to wear. Now, when it comes to kind of all the other things it comes with, so it comes with multiple tips as well as this cable. I think this cable looks amazing. This cable is really cool. It just looks really nice. It terminates into a 3.5 millimeter as always. And yeah, this is just a really nice cable. It's copper with silver plated as always. So we have multiple tips that comes with. So these are the kind of black tips that are kind of, I guess, plastic. These are my favorite tips on them. I think they give it more treble than the stock tips that it comes with. So it has a little bit more kind of air and detail with it. Now the stock tips are actually these felt-like material ones. It's quite an interesting tip because it kind of has this texture that reminds me of suede. I've never really seen it before, but this tip is very unique in the sense of I feel like it's very soft and very pliable, as well as being extra comfortable. And I think the general tonality of this is a little bit warmer, and the bass is also more accentuated with this. So if you use the stock tip, you're getting a warmer bassier type of sound, but if you want a little bit more treble, then the black tips that it comes with are also the better choice. So it also comes with these color tips. They're basically very similar. They all kind of give it a bassier and less treble focused sound. So personally, I would swap it with the black ones that are in the box. They're kind of the medium size, at least for me, or the large size. I think this is the one that sounds the best if you want the most detail. But the stock tips are also really good if you just want a nice smooth listening session. All right, so let's talk about sound. Like I said, I think this is the best IEM I have under $80. It's really good, and I'm going to compare it to these other 4. So over here we have the Dunu Titan S. It comes in at $80 and it has 1 dynamic driver. We have the ever so popular Critical Zero right here. So this one is about $50. And then we have the Kiwi Ears Quartet. This is pretty much my previous favorite around this $100 price point. And so that's why it's in this comparison. And then we have also the new JD1, and this is Jade Audio's newest IEM. It comes in at a price of only $15. So that's what we're gonna compare it to. So when it comes to the Fiio JH5, I would describe the sound of the JH5 as having kind of a very balanced sound. So really it has this bass boosted kind of bass. Then the mid range is very kind of, forward. The vocals are really nice. For the male and the female vocals are honestly the best I've ever heard in like any IEM. They're so, so good. The tuning on it is essentially perfect. I love the way it sounds, but I also think the BA drivers in here give it a lot of detail. Like, as I said, this thing has 5 drivers with 4 BA drivers, and it sounds really, really detailed. But the thing that I think makes this at least stand out even more is how good the soundstage and imaging on this is as well. And it just makes everything just sound extremely natural, extremely spacious, to a point where like the second I put this on, it reminded me of my favorite over-ear headphones because the soundstage was so big. And then, when I played games as well, so I was playing like Valorant, I could instantly tell the kind of imaging was really good, especially if you use the kind of black tips that come in the box. Those increase the treble. And when it comes to gaming, honestly, I think I give these a 10 out of 10. I basically put it on my like Wallhack tier list on the bottom of the kind of description if you see that, because I really do think it's that good. For $80, this is going to be my go-to recommendation for competitive FPS gamers as well. But the benefits of just listening to music is that, when it comes to sounds, they kind of come further away from your head. It isn't as congested as most IEMs. It does actually sound pretty far away. And then the kind of location and the accuracy of that is also really pinpoint. So really, I can't talk about how good this kind of soundstage and imaging is. And then lastly, the treble performance on this is also really good, because 2 of the BA drivers are for the mid-range and the other 2 are for the ultra-high frequencies. So the treble extension on this is also really, really good. Now, if you use it with the default tips, obviously it's a little bit warmer. That's why I think, the black tips that they come with are better if you need more treble. And I think that's the one I prefer the most. So really, this comes out to be one of the most nicest sounding IEMs. Like, I think anybody will basically put this on and love it. It's very fun with pop, EDM. It has that nice bass. It's not one of those kind of boring IEMs that have like the flat bass. It's very exciting, and honestly, it's just an easy recommendation for $80. It's kind of crazy, right? So in order to kind of validate what my thoughts were on this, I decided to compare it to all its competitors, right? So the True Theory Critical Zero, that is very popular. This one has actually, the only thing this one has better is sub bass. I think it goes a little deeper versus, I do think that the GH5 does roll off just slightly in the sub bass. But beyond that, this pretty much plays a lot better. The soundstage imaging is better. Kind of the bass has this like natural, they say they have like different cavities in here, and it kind of makes sense because it feels like the bass is able to play without sounding like it's kind of in a small room. The bass has a lot of space to breathe, but it might have something to do with the fact that it has this nice vent on the back as well. So really, I think something to do with that is really helping the bass sound very open and airy, and I really do like that part about it. Now, when it comes to just the overall detail, the Fiio has just the BA drivers really just kind of push it forward. It sounds much more detailed than the Critical Zero. Now we have the Dunu Titan S. I bought this as well because a lot of people were saying this is the best at $80. I think a few years ago. The Dunu is just kind of boring, honestly. It's one of those flat kind of bass ones with a kind of emphasis in the kind of treble. And I just find it a little bit boring, and even the technicalities of just one dynamic driver isn't even close in comparison to how much fun the Fiio sounds, but how much detail it sounds. And then when it comes to even just the fit and soundstage and imaging, I do think the Fiio also kind of edges it out. So really, I don't really recommend doing Titan S anymore, but I just still have it, so I might as well do the comparison. Now, we also have the Q Years Quartet, which makes it a more interesting type of comparison. But I don't know, I find it interesting that the Fio's bass just sounds much more natural to me in comparison to the Quartet. The Quartet, I feel like it has something to do with just like how much space the bass has to play slash the soundstage not being as big as the Fiio, because the Fio's bass sounds like my open back kind of headphones versus the Quartet just sounds just a little bit more trapped in type of sound. So in that sense, the Fiio is better. I also think the vocal performance on the Fiio is also better. So really, to me, this kind of replaces the Quartet in my lineup. Lastly, we have the new Fiio JD1. Now this is only $15. This is their newest kind of ultra budget type of IEM. I do think this IEM is actually pretty good, but it has the same kind of issues as other IEMs that are a little too bright. So I do find it a little bright, but on the flip side, I find it pretty detailed, honestly. It's probably as detailed as the Critical Zero, but it's only $15. And the sub-bass performance of this is actually pretty much insane for $15. It honestly competes with the Critical Zero too at that point. It's just the part where I like the Critical Zero better than this one is probably that the treble is just a little bit spicy. It's a little enhanced in this, and I think that's the only thing I don't really like about it. But honestly, it's a pretty good IEM for $15, but obviously the new Fiio kind of JH5 is going to be better. But yeah, if you can't tell, I really do enjoy this IEM. I'm putting it on the top of my recommendation list for kind of honestly the starter IEM. If you want to get into an IEM that sounds really good, this is the one I would buy for just $80. It sounds fantastic. And I think a lot of people will really enjoy this as much as I did. All right, so taking a closer inspection of the Fiio, we can kind of see the cable and all the kind of detail. I think it's a nice shiny type of table. It looks really cool. And then also the IEM has this nice faceplate. So in conclusion, I think the Fiio JH5 is my best IEM for like the $80 price point. This is just definitely better than like the classic like Moondrop Arias of the old. I think the bar has just been risen, and I think really this is an easy recommendation for everyone, especially if you like competitive gaming. For FPS, this thing does really well. If you want to just enjoy your music, this does that really well as well. This is the easiest recommendation from me, and I look forward to honestly trying the more expensive product. If this is like their $80 product, I can only wonder how good the rest of the line is. Honestly, I'm hyped, and yeah, I hope this video helped you guys. Please like and subscribe down below. Helps my videos out. You guys should check out my other kind of reviews. I did a lot of reviews of Fiio. Like I said, I think they're the company to look out for. I did their newest headphone, the FT5. I also did their kind of JT1. Now they actually have the FT3 in my hand, so I'll be dropping that review soon. So you guys definitely want to subscribe so you don't miss out on that video as well. See you guys in the next video.